Hi, Jan.
I'm glad to see you, Jan.
I don't think they can see me.
Hi, Sophie.
Hi,
How are you?
good. How are you?
Good.
I don't mean to shamelessly promote my company. I'm just at work.
Do I turn this? I think I can do either.
Can if you want.
Huh?
What do you want to say? I don't want to see you.
Hi, Sam.
Hello.
Hi, Sheila. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Sheila. Hi, Carson. Jason, hi. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Sarah. Glad you could make it. Hi, Alex. How are you? Sam, how are you? Hi, Robert. Let's see. I read. And Sheila's dog.
Did you call the place up north?
Yeah. Scott Dunson.
Yeah.
Just really excited to be part of this today.
Glad you could come. So odd.
We'll go take a ride.
Miss Moore, I have a question for you. Could you give me your email address at school? I wanted to, I'm introducing your candidate for the All-State Awards, and I just have a couple questions for you. Can you provide that?
Sorry, did you say Miss Moore?
Yes.
Oh, yep. It's Moore, M-O-O-R-E,
Okay.
S,
Okay.
at Meridian, M-E-R-I-D-I-A-N,
Okay.
H-A-W-K-S,
Well, give me that again. H what? WKS?
H-A-W-K-S
Okay.
.net.
.net. Okay. Okay, so if you get something from K. Abdul at J.S. Morton, that's me.
All right, I'll watch.
John, I think we have most of the All-State students, and we have both of the Journalist of the Year students. So I think you can go ahead whenever you like.
Okay, well, thank you very much. A very good afternoon to all of you. We are so pleased to welcome you to the Illinois Journalism Education Association's annual All-State Journalism Team and Journalist of the Year celebration, sponsored in cooperation by the Illinois Press Foundation. Congratulations, student journalists, on being here today. We're very happy that you're able to join us in this platform, although of course we would much rather be doing this in person. Unfortunately, circumstances do not allow for that this year, and so we're resorting to the next best thing. My name is John Gonzi. I have the honor of serving once again as the IJEA president, and again on behalf of my fellow officers and board members and the entire membership of the IJEA, a hearty congratulations to you, the students, and to your advisors and to your parents for all the support that they've given you over this past year and throughout your scholastic journalism careers. And again, we're very glad that you could make the time to join us on Zoom today. It is my pleasure to now introduce to you a great friend and partner with the IJEA, Mr. Jeff Rogers, who is the director of the Capitol News Service and also he is the chief of the Capitol News Service and the director of the Illinois Press Foundation, who would like to say a few words to you. Jeff, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, John. First, I want to say welcome to everybody who's in on this call today. It's really great to have students, parents, advisors, board members, all present to talk about journalism for a little bit, because I think as the COVID-19 pandemic has shown, journalism is more important now than ever. A lot of people look at the things that are happening right now, and there's a lot of really distressing, uncertain times and things happening right now. But I do think that one of the things that I've been really encouraged about through this whole process is seeing how journalists have risen to the occasion. And that goes for high school journalists. In fact, we talked about that a little bit during the board meeting this morning about the work that high school journalists have done to keep their community, their high school community, informed about what's going on during this pandemic. The same thing has happened at college newspapers, where they're doing everything remotely, but they're the connection to the school with the students, and letting those students know what's happening on campus and how their lives and how their classes and everything is affected by what's going on right now. Same thing is definitely happening on the professional side of journalism. In fact, we've been very busy on the Illinois Press Association side of keeping track and keeping on our website dozens of examples of things that newspapers and journalists around the state have been doing, not only to keep their community informed about what's going on, but equally important, maybe even more importantly, connecting their readers with the businesses in the communities that are struggling through this time, and doing inventive things like scavenger hunts that take people to businesses, or one newspaper did a food draft, which encouraged people to go do takeout at local restaurants, and things like that, to me, are really heartening to see where and how newspapers can help their communities go through times like this. And I really feel like as we come out of the pandemic and the different restrictions that go along with that, it's going to be a critical time and a really opportune time, I think, for journalists and for media companies to reinvent themselves and continue that service to their communities that some of them were maybe forced into during this time. But I think I look at this as a really encouraging, optimistic time for newspapers, because I think, and for journalism, because I think that people have realized how important it is and how much they rely on the media to help them through these uncertain times. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your commitment to journalism, because it is one of the most important careers and professions out there. So thanks again, and congratulations to all the winners that we're going to recognize here next. So next, I'd like to turn it over to Linda Jones, the Executive Director of the IJEA.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks so much.
Sure.
IJEA has a really close relationship with the Illinois Press Foundation and the Illinois Press Association. In fact, our headquarters are now in the building of the Illinois Press in Springfield. And normally, this event would be there. You'd be in a wonderful room with some newspaper executives and some members of IJEA's board and your families and your advisors, and we would celebrate and actually hand you your plaques and certificates and awards. But we couldn't do that, and we're trying as best we can to replicate that here. So I hope you enjoy this. It seems like we have a good turnout of the awardees, and I'm glad to see that. And I can tell that there are quite a few parents on the call too, so that's great too. So thanks again for coming. I think you all know that IJEA exists to honor and support high school journalism programs, students, and advisors. So an event like this is extremely important. It reflects our commitment to our all-state journalism team. And that group will be honored today. It reflects our commitment to the Illinois Journalist of the Year Award, and that will, the honoree and the runner-up will be awarded here today. And we've also just completed the judging and selection process for the newspaper and digital media contest, and that's another big event. So we wanted to celebrate all of that stuff somehow, so that's why we're here. One of the things that came up repeatedly in the nomination letters from your advisors, for those of you who are all-state team members, was students' response to the pandemic. Advisors talked again and again about resilience and hard work and stepping up, and taking over, gathering all the rest of the staff to work to either finish up the yearbook or put out a last publication or cover COVID in their communities. And those stories were inspirational. You're going to hear some references to them as we talk about the all-state team members. But we also conducted this year, as part of our newspaper and digital media contest, a category of entries for COVID-19 coverage. This was a first for us, obviously, and actually we sort of hope it's the last one too, but we had some great entries there, and I thought it would be appropriate to have just a few words from the judge for that category. This is Dr. Kathleen Parecka, and I'll turn it over to you, Cassie, for comments on those entries.
Thank you, Linda, and welcome and congratulations to all of our awardees today. As it says in the program, I'm currently the principal of Regina Dominican High School in Wilmette, and our school paper is small and not regularly published. But as a high school principal who has been leading our school community from home since March 13th, I especially echo what Jeff Rogers said and what Linda has alluded to, which is that keeping a community connected while everybody is separate in their homes and dealing with a crisis that hasn't come along in our society in the last century is really a daunting task. It's daunting as the school leader, and it's daunting as scholastic journalists. And the entries in this category this year are not only historical documents and should be part of a time capsule because of the portraits of the school communities that are produced, but the student journalists from around the state created this incredibly deep and broad array of stories covering how the pandemic has touched every part of student life, communities, and families. And just to give you a sampling of some of those entries, we had portraits of American exchange students who were planning a trip to China that had to be scrapped. International students who are here from other countries who suddenly realized they wouldn't be able to go home, wouldn't be able to see their families, and also simultaneously fearful and wondering if they're going to be safe here in the United States during this pandemic. One family story of traveling abroad and being trapped basically when the pandemic hit. Stories that captured how the pandemic impacted every facet of student life, from postponing or canceling those long-awaited senior year traditions, how it impacted students who were right in the middle of their college decisions when the quarantine began, spring athletes whose seasons never happened, and long-awaited tournament trips that had to be postponed. There were explorations of how anti-Asian stigmatization in the wake of the pandemic touched student lives and Asian American student communities. There was a factual overview of COVID basics that was published very early on before we all became conversant with every detail of the pandemic, and really provided a great service in just helping explain exactly what the virus is and how it was being dealt with. There were students' first-person accounts of how their families were individually prepping and hunkering down, and student perception of how what she thought of the shelter-in-place order shifted as time went on. At first, we thought, oh, it's like a snow day, and then the gravity of the situation gradually comes over her. Stories about local businesses stepping up in their efforts to help the community. Reports on how e-learning impacted students as weeks went on. Q&A with the school principal about how are you handling this? What will this look like for our school? What are our plans going forward? So as you can see, such a wide array and such an interesting variety of stories impacting communities of all sizes all across our state. We're all in this together, but each one a different take on it. So to those student journalists, I just want to reiterate how this reporting is important. It's enduring, it's groundbreaking, and to re-echo what Mr. Rogers just said, the journalists have stepped up and have done a tremendous public service, and our student journalists have done that for our school communities. So congratulations for all that amazing reporting, and I'll turn it back over to the program. Thank you.
Thanks, Cassie. Now we're moving to the Illinois Journalist of the Year.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Fernandez. I'm an IJEA board member and the JEA state director for Illinois. I just recently took over the state director position from Brenda Field. So she helped lead this year's contest. IJEA has sponsored the Illinois Journalist of the Year competition since 1988, 1989. Our winner receives a $300 prize, but more importantly becomes the Illinois representative in the national JEA, Journalism Education Association's Journalist of the Year contest. This year, Illinois Journalist of the Year is Ryan Kupperman. Prospect High School advisor Jason Block said, the Illinois Journalist of the Year, Ryan Kupperman, is one of the most valuable staff members he's had in the past 4 years. When I first met Ryan as a freshman in the Journalistic Writing 1 course, I had no idea just how big of an impact he would make on our program, Block said. He quickly emerged, however, as a student who refused to be outworked, always finding the time and energy to get one more interview, go through one more revision, ask one more follow-up question. His efforts showed in the quality of the work he produced as he quickly earned the trust and respect of his fellow newspaper staff members. This was proven when he was named executive news editor at the end of his freshman year, an honor typically reserved for much older students. Yet Ryan showed his peers that their trust was not misplaced, doing such a great job running the news section that he earned the role of copy editor his junior year and eventually editor-in-chief his senior year. To have those 3 leadership positions on his resume truly tells you all you need to know about Ryan. When he is given a challenge, he attacks it, never allowing the stress or pressure to get him along the way. And while he stood out for all 4 years he's been involved with the Prospector staff, Block said this year he's been particularly exceptional. He said his leadership has meant others feel seen, heard, and supported. According to Block, Kupperman is a dream leader with a strong work ethic and a passion for helping others. He said these traits have made the Prospector newsroom a great place for staff to work all year. Not only a standout leader, Kupperman also doesn't shy away from a tough story. In his time on staff, he's tackled stories about race, school athletic policies, and safety in a time of school shootings. Block said he's one of the best in-depth reporters and writers he's ever had. Yet, for all the accolades he's earned, Kupperman said he's determined to keep learning and growing. In his analytical essay, he focused on the special burden journalists face to get it right, to triple check facts, to look at every angle, to ask tough questions, even when they make someone uncomfortable, to keep striving until you're sure everything is right, and to be willing to admit when they've gotten something wrong. What sets journalism what set journalists apart from the loudest voices is we have the courage and the faith to admit when we are wrong. The same courage and faith that our founding fathers saw when they made the journalism the only profession protected by the Constitution, Kupperman wrote. Kupperman understands the weight of this responsibility and the importance of this work. For these reasons and more, we're proud to celebrate Ryan Kupperman as Illinois Journalist of the Year. Congratulations to Ryan and to his advisor, Mr. Block. We also have a runner-up this year for Illinois Journalist of the Year, to Sarah Waters. According to her advisor, Lisa Rosa, Niles West journalist Sarah Waters fights for what's right and leads by example. What distinguishes Sarah from other young journalists in Illinois, I think, is her sharp, critical intellect, Rosa said. She understands bureaucracy, accountability, the First Amendment, and the essential role reporters, accurate, objective reporters, play in speaking truth to power and preserving democracy. Armed as such, she is steadfast in her commitment to reporting and calm in the face of conflict. Waters didn't join the news staff until her junior year, but she did everything she could to make up for lost time. I spent the summer researching, preparing, and practicing my journalistic skills, Waters said. I taught myself how to write the different types of leads, how to ask more open-ended questions in interviews, and even basic AP style. I wanted to do journalism, and I wanted to do it right. And to do it right, she has. In her 2 short years on the Niles West online staff, Waters has distinguished herself enough that she was asked to edit 2 sections of the website. She also spoke up for and fought for publication of a story her school administration wanted her to take down. Early in the school year, administration inadvertently triggered a lockdown, Rosa said. Sarah interviewed students, teachers, and school administrators in the wake of the event. The story she published afterwards held fast to principles of objective reporting and exposed the shortfalls in our threat readiness procedures. Specific issues with the faculty intercom system surfaced, and her story went on to cover reactions among students and staff both during and after the incident. Though it was a false alarm, Sarah's coverage touched a nerve. Administration brought the hammer down. Our brand new principal and her equally green assistant principal launched a campaign not to censor, but to badger Sarah into self-editing the story. What if something happens in an area with poor intercom coverage? Wouldn't you feel bad for exposing it? Don't you care about school safety? This makes us look bad. Emails were sent, meetings were called, parents were involved, attorneys were consulted. But Sarah stood her ground, and journalism worked. Administration addressed the intercom system and plans to adopt the run, hide, fight, active shooter protocol beginning next year. She believed, as does Rosa, her story fell safely within the bounds of the New Voices law, protecting student publications. But she knew that if administration pressed the issue, the decision would rest in court. She is dogged and determined, but she is not obstinate or arrogant. In addition to her work on the Niles West staff, Waters has also started an independent newsletter to inform readers about issues related to climate change. She says the experiences she's had over the course of the past 2 years have led her to be passionate about pursuing a career in journalism. I aspire to produce journalism that affects meaningful change in the vein of making society more egalitarian and democratic, she said. That journalism has a positive, tangible effect on society by exposing injustices and giving voice to those who, in a time of sensationalist and exaggerated media, is often overlooked. For her passion, determination, and willingness to speak truth to power, we're proud to honor Sarah Waters as our runner-up for the Illinois Journalist of the Year. Congratulations to Sarah and her advisor, Ms. Rosa. Congrats to both of you. You were incredible contestants, and I'm sure all of the advisors here would love to have you on their team. So now we will move on to the All-State Team Award.
Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Reiser, IJEA's co-secretary and advisor at Washington Community High School, and I'm honored to help celebrate this year's All-State Journalism team. Our first student is Senior Jan Abel from Galesburg High School. She is editor-in-chief of the GHS Budget newspaper. Jan's advisor, Brad Benowitz, says that her initiative, dedication, and work ethic will be impossible to replace in the short term, and her imprint and influence will be felt for years through the ideas and high standards she brought to the publication and its companion website. In her application for the All-State team, Jan recalled that 4 years ago, journalism was nothing more to her than how her grandparents got their daily news. Now, she says, through my time working for the GHS Budget, I have come to realize how important journalism is in keeping the world connected, from people in my grandparents' generation to the classmates I sit next to in algebra. Congratulations to Jan and her advisors, Mr. Brad Benowitz and Mandy Stiegel. Our second student is Senior Carson Bierman from Oswego East High School. Carson is editor-in-chief of the Wolf's Eye yearbook. Her advisor, Colleen Calvey, says that although Carson's name won't appear on many pages in the Wolf's Eye, the book would not have been published on time without her. Ms. Calvey said, quote, I have never worked with a student who is so dedicated to telling the story of the year. Her motto was to be bold and tell stories, and she held herself and her staff to this standard. Carson herself says an administration directive that the book could no longer cover non-school sanctioned events was her biggest obstacle this year. She drew on her knowledge of the Illinois New Voices law, met with the editorial board, and organized a conference call with the Student Press Law Center in response. Carson and her staff were able to stick with their coverage plans, but that's not the final step. She says, I'm working with next year's editors so they can continue this fight after I graduate. Congratulations to Carson and her advisor, Ms. Calvey. Our third recipient is Junior Sam Bull from Downers Grove North High School. Sam is editor-in-chief of the Omega newspaper. His advisor, Elizabeth Levin, cited Sam's mature work ethic and belief in excellence in nominating him for the All-State team. While the Omega is primarily a print publication, Ms. Levin says that Sam has worked hard to change that, redesigning the site and reimagining the way the publication uses social media. Sam noted in his essay that his writing this year has spanned sections, topics, and styles, including contributions of briefs, reviews, columns, long forms, and commentaries. His advisor also called him the driving force behind the Omega's senior issue, which was printed and distributed in May during the stay-at-home period. Sam says, I have become a far better writer. I think my improvements allow me to give voice to those who cannot or will not be heard. Congratulations to Sam and his advisor, Ms. Levin. Brad Benowitz will now we'll continue with introductions.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm Brad Benowitz. I'm a co-advisor of the GHS budget, and congratulations to my All-State journalism team member, Jan Abel, introduced by Jennifer just a moment ago. Like Jennifer, I am a co-secretary of IJEA, and it's always a tremendous pleasure to be a part of this ceremony. The fact that we can't do it in person, I feel for all of you kids as somebody who has an advocacy class of all seniors, as someone who has a daughter who's a senior in high school this year. I know in more ways than just being a teacher and an advisor how challenging and how difficult and certainly how unique the situation has been. So it does not diminish in any way what you all have accomplished, and we're certainly very proud to be with you here today, even not in person, to be able to recognize the hard work that you all have done and what you're being recognized here for. So congratulations to all of you. The first person I will be introducing is Amanda Castle, a junior at the University of Chicago Laboratory High School. Congratulations, Amanda. She is the managing editor of the U-High Midway newspaper. Her advisor, Logan Imony, notes that in her position, she could skim the most interesting pieces for herself, but most often she tackles a story with complexity or difficult sources. One was Amanda's account of a meeting organized by student council after a second incident of racism at the school within a few months. Amanda attended the meeting at lunchtime, wrote the story that afternoon, and posted it soon after that. Amanda says she didn't want such an important story, quote, to slip through the cracks. Amanda's essay also highlights her commitment to developing staff members. Rather than assigning difficult stories to the more experienced staff writers, she began assigning difficult stories to newer staff members and then provided enough support to help them deliver without taking over. Next year, Amanda will be one of 3 editors-in-chief for U-High Midway. Congratulations, Amanda, and to your advisor, Mr. Imony. Way to go. Next up, senior Sophie Converse from Richwoods High School. And Sophie, I saw you a little bit ago, and it looks like you're in a nice little setting there as part of this meeting. Sophie is the editor-in-chief of the Excalibur yearbook. Her advisor, Dr. Dan Kearns, says Sophie's leadership as editor-in-chief has been essential to successful completion of the Excalibur yearbook during the COVID-19 pandemic, as school closed 3 weeks before submission of the book. That meant that staffers had to adapt how they gathered stories and accessed students for quotes, all while dealing with sheltering in place. Although Dr. Kearns observed that it would have been easy to give up, Sophie described herself as a machine on autopilot focused on nothing but the yearbook. Sophie added, quote, I loved what I was doing, and the experience was extremely formative. It wasn't a chore to design layouts or take photos because I thoroughly enjoyed the way it felt to create things. Sophie, congratulations to you and to your advisor, Dr. Kearns. And the final member of the All-State Journalism team I will be introducing is senior Anastasia Carrera of McHenry High School. Anastasia is copy editor for the McHenry Messenger newspaper, print and online, as well as features editor for the Warrior yearbook. Her advisor, Dane Urbach, succinctly describes her work, quote, Stacy has owned both publications. Mr. Urbach recalled a story about student athletes feeling pressure to make unhealthy decisions. The original version, submitted by another writer, was what he called the bare minimum. Stacy gathered more perspectives to clarify the story, and the article earned the paper recognition. Just one example of a story that would not have been published without her work. Stacy said, quote, when I discovered journalism, I realized that my writing can not only affect me and how I feel about certain things, but it's also used to help and inform other people. Journalism gives a voice to not only me, but my peers as well, and it really bonds people. Stacy, congratulations to you and to your advisor, Mr. Urbach. Way to go. It is now my pleasure to hand this portion of the ceremony over to another one of our IJEA board members, Kathy Abdul.
Hi, I'm Kathy Abdul, IJEH board member and advisor of Morton West High School in Berwyn, Illinois. I want to congratulate each and every student who is here today. I am very proud of you and your accomplishments, and advisors, what a way to go. Good job. The first student that I'm going to be announcing for the IJEA All-State team is senior Grace Given from Prospect Heights High School. She is the editor-in-chief of the Prospector. Her advisor, Jason Block, says that Grace leads the staff with a combination of authority and compassion and consistently takes on challenging stories simply because that's where her curiosity takes her. She is always the forefront of the decision-making process when the Prospector tackles controversial subjects helping to determine the most responsible coverage. Grace herself says, "Journalism gave me the freedom to write articles about anything, and therefore question my environment and value the truth." She adds, "I've never valued journalism more now than I do right now. The COVID-19 crisis has shed light on the importance and responsibility of journalists around the world, and that includes high school journalists." Congratulations to Grace and her advisor, Mr. Block. Next, I will be introducing Senior Grace Hutchinson from Villa Grove High School, who has been the editor of the Vail Markham Yearbook for the past 2 years, a position in which she not only edits, but also works on fundraising, sales, and distribution. This year, Grace guided a transition to a book that includes embedded multimedia content. Her advisor, Brian Cords, says that while it took some time for others to see what Grace envisioned for her publication, her leadership and willingness to lead by example prevailed. Every senior was interviewed to share their thoughts on life and their future plans. Grace simply says, "I got serious about yearbook as a junior. If I could redo one thing, I would have become more involved in the program sooner. My desire to capture the story in my youth motivated me to become involved in journalism. Good journalism is accurately telling a story." Congratulations to Grace and her advisor, Mr. Cords. My final candidate that I'm announcing is Junior Robert LeCates from Meridian High School, who is the layout editor for the Meridian Moments yearbook. His advisor, Sheila Moore, says of Robert, "This young man will take home books on design trends, copywriting, layout, theme development every chance he gets. He is a resource to my other staff members, checking in on them, asking questions to figure out how best to guide them. He is a true asset. Next year, he'll be editor-in-chief of the Meridian Daily News Online and co-editor of the Meridian Moments yearbook." Robert says, "This year, while it might be my first in yearbook, it has been my best year of my life. Before yearbook and our journalism program, I didn't have much going for me, and that I enjoyed. From learning about the theme development to writing copy and how to use a camera, I instantly fell in love with yearbook." Congratulations to Robert and his advisor, Ms. Moore. Dan Kearns will now introduce the next few All-Staters.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Kearns, Vice President of IJEA and advisor at Richwoods High School. And congratulations to Alex Miranda, who is a junior at Downers Grove High School. He is the news director for the Blueprint and writes in every section for both print and online publications. His advisor, Mary Long, pinpoints something beyond his job description. Alex writes all of the program's sensitive editorials because he is constantly thinking about the Society of Professional Journalism ethics code, and always considers how his stories will affect others. Alex says, simply put, good journalism is rooted in the conscientious efforts and the ethical standards of journalists themselves. In both my commitment to the Blueprint as a writer and my growth through the program as an individual, I am proud to say I uphold these standards. Next year, he will be the online editor-in-chief. Congratulations to Alex and his advisor, Ms. Long. I'm happy to introduce the next All-Stater, Senior Reed Watkins from Normal Community High School. Reed is in his second year as sports editor of the Ink Spot. He manages a team of sports writers and also serves as a broadcaster for girls basketball and baseball. His advisor, Brad Borkirk, said that Reed understands that a journalist doesn't just tell the popular stories. He realizes that everyone has a story to tell. His biggest contribution this year has been in providing a voice to the often overlooked athletic programs. Reed says, the most enjoyable part of my job comes from growing relationships with the coaches and the athletes that I get to work with. As I've gotten to be more comfortable with the people I am reporting on, I am able to tell truly tell their story better. Congratulations to Reed and to his advisor. And finally, I am happy to introduce Senior Kayla Yamansky from Huntley High School. She is in her second year as editor-in-chief of the Harmony Yearbook. Her advisor, Lauren Teeter, notes that Kayla's strengths in designing and writing have earned her both local and national recognition through the Illinois Women's Press Association, the National Federation of Women in Press, and the Quill and Scroll. Ms. Teeter describes her as devoted, empathetic, and daring. Without hesitation, I can say that she is one of the most hardworking people I've ever met. Kayla says, the heart of a good journalism relies on strong photos, compelling quotes directly from the student body, and I make sure our book is driven by the students on the page, not by the showy design or flowery copy. When people look back at their yearbooks in 50 years, they won't want to remember what Photoshop could do. They will want to remember what life was like. Congratulations to Kayla and her advisor, Ms. Teeter. And back to Mr. John Gonzi for a wrap up.
Thank you very much, Dan. Well, again, on behalf of my fellow board members, I want to sincerely congratulate you, students, on your remarkable achievements, particularly during these very trying and unprecedented times over the past few months. We hope that you are walking away from our online experience today feeling recognized and honored and appreciated for the hard work that you have done. And I would like to throw this thought out to all of you. 50 years from now, when perhaps the media outlets are doing historical retrospectives, even 25 years from now, it is very likely that all of you students will be around to tell the stories. It is very unlikely that people like me will still be around to tell those stories. So I want to encourage you all to continue to write, to continue to report, especially over this summer and into the fall. Keep a journal, interview people, keep talking to people, stay connected with people, and please continue to promote those connections as you have been doing. That will be so vital for history. And there's no one better, I think, equipped to record this sad and trying time in our nation's history than all of you, because you have the talent and the energy to do it in a way that most don't. So you are to be commended for that. I'm sorry that you have that responsibility on your shoulders, but I'm also confident, we all are confident, that you will rise to the occasion and do a great job with that. I want to sincerely thank our Executive Director, Linda Jones, who put today's program together. Linda, this was just tremendous. It's unfortunate we could not do this in person, but Linda, you did an outstanding job of getting this all together in a dignified manner, and we appreciate that very much. Jeff Rogers from the Illinois Press Foundation, as always, we thank you for your partnership and your support of scholastic journalism. Dr. Parekha, thank you so much for your wonderful insights into the COVID-19 coverage and the judging that you did. I'm so very pleased, we all are very pleased that you were able to join us today and to speak some words of wisdom and insight to these young people this afternoon at our ceremony. And finally, I would like to, well, not finally, second to last, I would like to thank my fellow board members for all of their hard work and participation. And finally, a sincere thank you to the advisors and the parents of these remarkable young people who I hope will take some time today to recognize you for all of the support that you have given them so that they are able to shine and excel as they have. You are tremendous stakeholders in the whole process, and we're very grateful to you for your efforts as well. And with that said, I hope you all enjoy the rest of the day and the weekend, and have a wonderful and safe summer. And we hope to see you in the future in person as soon as humanly possible. But until then, stay safe and stay well. And on behalf of the IJEA, we extend our best and warmest wishes to all of you. Thank you for being here today.
And to all of you awardees, just be patient, but you'll be getting a package soon from IJEA with your plaques and your all-state team shirts. So be on the lookout for that. Don't expect them on Monday, but they'll be coming soon, I promise. So congratulations to everybody.
Congratulations, everyone. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a
everybody.
good summer, everybody.
A great summer, everybody.
Thank you, Jason. You too.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff.
Sure.
Bye.
Jan, take care. Thank you and congratulations.
Congratulations, Jan. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you, Linda, for everything.
You
It's
bet.
great.
Okay, good.
Bye.
Bye, Carol. Thank you.
Hi, Carol. Thanks a lot.
David, thank you. I'll see you all. Take care.
Good. Okay.